Hi, I'm Shivani and welcome to Postcards from Bharat. Today, a new postcard has arrived from the city of ruins Hampi, a quaint place in northern Karnataka, which is one of the most searched historical places in India. It is located within the ruins of Vijayanagara, the former capital of the illustrious Vijayanagar Empire, known for its many monuments which constitute a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Hampi holds an intriguing tale of India's rich cultural and historical past. This enchanting land of surprises was founded in the middle of the 14th century by two local princes, Hatta and Bukka. The Vijayanagar Empire was one of the finest in terms of its might and wealth. The unique ruins at Hampi represent the superior Dravidian style of art and architecture, known for its intricate carvings, stone sculptures, and monolith structures. The place is well known for its royal residences, beautiful temples, roads, and astonishing statues. It is believed that Hampi was established by the Vijayanagar Empire, but the very first historical records state that the settlement in Hampi dates back to 1 CE. During the 3rd century, the region was under the rule of Ashokan kingdom. This fact has been established from the ceramic potteries that have been found here from those times. Hampi was the anglicized version of Kannada Hampe. Hampi was often known as Pampa Kshetra, Kishkinda Kshetra, or Bhaskar Kshetra, which were derived from the word Pampa, which is an old name for the Tungabhadra river. Pampa is another name for goddess Parvati. According to mythology, it is said that Pampa was Brahma's daughter, who was later married off to Shiva. It was here where the city was built. The city came into eminence as the capital of the Vijayanagar Empire from 1336 to 1565, when it was ruled by 4 dynasties: Sangama, Saluva, Tuluva, and Aravidu dynasty. The princes of these dynasties built more than 500 monuments. As the capital of the Vijayanagar Empire, Hampi grew as a trade center for cotton, spices, horses, and gemstones. Rubies and diamonds were believed to have been sold on the streets, and gold and silver were used as the currency. Today, when you visit the place, the ruins narrate a tale of grandeur and majesty. One can imagine a civilization having reached the zenith of art, culture, trade, and abundance here. Some of the tourist attractions in Hampi today are the Virupaksha Temple, the Vitala Temple, Hazara Ram Temple, Sugriev's Cave, the Marketplace. Let me take you on a tour of some of these places. Virupaksha Temple is the main center of pilgrimage at Hampi and had been considered a sacred temple over the centuries. It is intact among the surrounding ruins and is still used in worship. The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva, known here as Virupaksha or Pampapati. One of the most striking features of this temple is the usage of mathematical concepts to build and decorate it. The temple has repeated patterns that demonstrate the concept of fractals. The main shape of the temple is triangular. As you look up the temple top, the patterns divide and repeat themselves, just like you would see in a snowflake or some other natural wonders. The musical pillars are 56 pillars which are part of the Vitala temple that make the musical sound on being tapped. The royal enclosure in Hampi was the Vijayanagara kingdom's seat of power. In its prime, it housed as many as 45 buildings, including the Darbar Hall, tanks, underground chambers, and temples. The royal enclosure of Hampi has often been compared to an open-air museum. Apart from giving the visitors a glimpse into what life was like under the Vijayanagar rulers, it also showcases the architectural excellence of the era. Vijayanagara's main coin mint was located in Hampi. The coinage was astonishing with gold, silver, and copper coins, with pictures of gods, animals, birds, etc. The ruins of the mint can be seen inside the walled enclosure on the western side. The stepped tank called Pushkarani was discovered in 1985 and is considered one of the most well-preserved structures in the royal enclosure. This is a 5-tiered tank that covers an area of 22 square meters and has a depth of 7 meters. Another fascinating structure within this royal enclosure is the famous Hazara Ram Temple. The entire outer walls of the temple are carved and ornamented with the antique objects that narrate the Ramayana, showcasing 1,000 statues of Lord Ram. Sugriev's Cave and Sasi Vekalu Ganesh Temple are other tourist attractions. According to the Hindu mythology, once Ganesha consumed a lot of food, due to which his stomach was on the verge of bursting. Finding no other option to stop his stomach from exploding, Ganesha caught hold of a snake and tied it around his stomach in order to prevent it from bursting open. This is the mythological incidence behind the existence of the snake tied around the Ganesha's stomach, which is visible on the 8 feet high statue made from one big rock. Lotus Mahal, which was a palace for the women folk, and elephant stable are other attractions. These temples and palaces were admired by many Arab, Portuguese, and Italian travelers who recorded their observations in their accounts. Hampi was rich in art and architecture. The rulers who ruled the region were great lovers of religion and art. Hampi had reached its prime during the rule of Krishnadeva, who ruled the city between 1509 and 1529. This was the same period when international trading had flourished and reached great heights under the progressive trading practices, and also several international trade agreements were carried out. During this era, Vijayanagara Empire had almost taken up most of South India and also beyond. They invested in roads, waterworks, agriculture, religious buildings, and public infrastructure. This included states UNESCO, forts, riverside features, royal and sacred complexes, temples, shrines, pillared halls, mandapas, halls for people to sit in, memorial structures, gateways, checkposts, stables, water structures, and more. The site was multi-religious and multi-ethnic. It included Hindu and Jain monuments next to each other. The buildings predominantly followed South Indian Hindu arts and architecture dating to the Aihole Pattadakal styles. It is evident from the intricate carvings on the walls of the monuments that women occupied a prominent position in Vijayanagara society. Besides accomplished musicians and dancers, women excelled as writers, poets, astrologers, soothsayers, judges, and many were actively involved in matters of trade and administration. Krishnadeva himself was an accomplished poet who wrote the acclaimed Amukta in Telugu. He encouraged women to take up writing. Tirumalamba Devi wrote Varadambika Parinayam, the story of the marriage of a Hampi king in Sanskrit. Ganga Devi wrote Madhura Vijaya, a poem that describes in detail the invasion and conquest of the Madurai Sultanate. This was the land that had witnessed several ups and downs. The Hoysala Empire and its capital Dwarasamudra was plundered and destroyed in the early 14th century by the armies of Alauddin Khilji and again in 1326 CE by the army of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The armies of the Delhi Sultanate, particularly those of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, had earlier invaded and pillaged the Hampi kingdom, which is around 31 kilometers from Hampi. In 1336 CE, the Vijayanagara Empire arose from the ruins of the Hampi kingdom. It grew into one of the famed Hindu empires of South India that ruled for over 200 years. However, Hampi too succumbed to the attacks carried out by 5 Deccan sultans called Bidar, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda and also Berar. These sultanates formed a coalition and attacked Hampi in 1565 at the Battle of Talikota and looted them for a long period, approximately 6 months. They captured and beheaded the king, Aliya Ramaraya. In his book, The Forgotten Empire, Robert Sewell wrote, "With fire and sword, with crowbars and axes, they carried on day after day their work of destruction. Never perhaps in the history of the world has such havoc been wrought so suddenly on so splendid a city, teeming with a wealthy and illustrious population in the full plenitude of prosperity one day, and on the next seized, pillaged and reduced to ruins, amid scenes of savage massacre and horrors beggaring description. The destruction and burning down of the city is evidenced by the quantities of charcoal, the heat-cracked basements and burnt architectural pieces found by archaeologists in Vijayanagara region. But if you want to witness the glorious remnants of this great city, do visit and pay homage. The Taj Mahal of Agra is always on your must-visit list, so should be Hampi. I'll be back with another such fascinating postcard. Until then, Dhanyavad and Namaskar.